Greetings my friends, how are you doing? This is Zeb from Zed Outdoors and I hope you're having an awesome day. So welcome to this continuation in building out my bushcraft base camp. So today I'm in the woodland, we're here nice and early with my friend Mark, who you may have seen on previous videos, helping me out with the main frame of the shelter. So we arrived there quite early morning, we just had a quick spot of breakfast. Now if you notice the first thing, we use a gas cooker. The shock, the horror, people screaming from the rooftops, that's not proper bushcraft. Well, the goal with today is we really want to prioritize today on getting the shelter done, ideally. So we're going to see how that pans out. If you watched the previous part to this building out the frame, you would have seen that we spent a lot of time actually working out the pieces, the joints we were going to use, and obviously all the tools that went with it. We spent a lot of time working out the auger bit and a whole bunch of things that went with it. And in between that and obviously coming here today, that video's been out and we received a lot of feedback, and for that I want to thank you. As me and Mark, we're very new to this kind of build, and so it was good to get a lot of your input, all of you from varying different experiences, kind of contributing and giving your suggestions on aspects of this build. Now, a few things that did come up. Number one, people were asking about the design of the shelter. Now I did cover that in my very first video, but it reminded me that actually a lot of people may not, a lot of you watching may not know the actual design that I'm going to be building. It's quite simple. So I've actually drawn it on a bit of paper, which I'll show in a few minutes, and I think I'll show that in this process of the build so you know the angle in which I'm going. Another thing that came up is quite a few of you were mentioning the type of build that we're doing. So here's the thing. I think I mentioned this on the very first video when I started out this Basecamp series, and that is a lot of the stuff like lean-tos and debris shelters and things like that is stuff that many of you and myself, we've done many times over. And building out this base camp, I wanted to kind of veer away from that. Now there's nothing wrong with building that stuff, and it's important with your bushcraft learning to know how to build those structures and actually build them. But I wanted to veer away from that. So I wanted to something that's a lot more robust, that's away from the conventional type of shelters that a lot of us are building, and something that pushes me outside my comfort zone. Now in that process, obviously I'm studying a lot of different disciplines. Conventional woodworking, traditional green woodworking, log cabin building, different types of shelters, etc. And so what I'm doing as this project evolves, I'm kind of bringing in elements from different places. And this is where I want to say the first thing, that even though this is obviously called a bushcraft base camp, for me, bushcraft really covers just so many different areas that it's all about taking bits from each and making it your own. There were a few comments about people saying, well, this isn't really bushcraft because you're doing X, Y, and Z and some of the tools that you're using. For me, my opinion is that really bushcraft is such a wide area that really is no one thing. What might be right for you may not be right for me, and there is no actual right or wrong. You know, it's just what you prefer to do. So with this one, what I've decided is I want something a lot more robust than your conventional lean-to or debris shelter. And so in essence, I have been introducing and are introducing aspects of log cabin building and joinery, woodworking. My goal with this shelter is I want it to stand for a minimum of 2 years without any work. So that's quite a big ask. If you're building your conventional lean-to or debris shelter, there's a lot of maintenance that you have to do on that, especially with a debris shelter. But with this type of shelter I want to build, I want to make sure I don't have to do anything for 2 years, and it stands strong with all the elements that the great British weather has to throw at it. And so for that reason, obviously, the tools, there was a lot of comments about, some comments about the tools that, you know, we brought so many tools. It's something I did actually mention in a previous video, but I will mention it again. This type of work is very new to me and Mark. And so it's like, when you first do your wild camp in bushcraft or you first do your outing in bushcraft, you bring a lot more kit than you actually need, and that's because of the lack of experience and the confidence that goes with it. And as you get more experience in going out doing wild camping, you bring less and less kit because now you've got that experience under your belt. Well, it's the same with this kind of build. This is very new to us, and we don't have the luxury of just popping into our workshop to grab a tool. You know, whatever we have out here is what we have out here. And so yes, we bring a lot more tools than what we actually need. But as we gain more and more experience, we will know over time that, okay, these tools we can leave at home and these we can bring with us. You know, so that's the reason why we brought a lot of tools with us. And so coming back to this whole thing, the big thing I want to say is that there's many ways of doing one thing, and there's no right or wrong. As long as what you're doing is safe and it's respectful to your environment, it's each to their own. You know, there's many different ways of kind of tackling the same project. So with this one, yes, yeah, we're getting a lot of your input. There's a lot of research I'm doing. There's a lot of what Mark, my friend, brings to the table. And so collectively, we're trying to basically make it up as we go along. But the premise being, we want it to be solid, and I want it to stand for a minimum of 2 years without any maintenance whatsoever. And if there is maintenance, it's very, very minimal. So there you go. That is my kind of overall understanding of how I want to approach this project. So hopefully that will allay a lot of your questions that people have been raising in the comments section. So yes, it may take a little bit more time than doing your conventional shelter, but that's because we want to do things properly, you know, with some real rigidity and thought process that's gone into it. And by pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, it forces you to learn many different disciplines and skills, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. So the goal for today is to hopefully get this frame finished. And so that's why we're trying to streamline the cooking and everything, so we can really focus the majority of today in getting this done. And so hopefully, I hope you enjoy the rest of this video. It may be a little bit lengthy, but throughout this video, I want to kind of explain to you kind of the things that we're doing and the thought process that has gone behind it. So without further ado, I hope you enjoyed the rest of the video. So there you go. As you can tell, drawing is not my strong point, but I've drawn this to give you a rough idea of how the shelter is going to be built. So it's a rectangle shape. The front are 7 foot sticking out, and there's a foot underground. The back is 6 foot standing up, and another foot underground. The sides here are 6 foot, and along the actual length of it is 8 feet. Okay, so the reason why I do it 8 feet is 6 feet is going to be the raised bed, and so you have a foot either side. So if you're looking from the top, from the side angle, you know, the front is 7 foot, the back is 6 foot, so essentially there's a 1 foot drop, okay, going over. And then the top bits are going to be hanging over either side to allow for rain. So obviously the rain will go down here and drop down here, so you want a bit of an overhang here so it doesn't drop onto the shelter and encourage rotting. So there you go, that's how the back's going to look, 7 foot up, 6 foot there, and this is the front of the shelter. So here we've got 3 supports. Okay, so at the moment we're working on finishing off one side, so we've almost got that done, and then we're going to do the other side, the bottom 2, and then we're going to work out the top structure. So we're going to build all of it on the ground, and in that way when we lift it up, most of it is done. And so from the front, we've got 1 pole going across the top, and that essentially holds it bottom, so therefore you've got this whole open area here to work through. So there you go, hopefully that gives you a better idea of the type of structure that's being built. Oops, got a bit of an angle on it. Oh, that's all right.
We're there.
We're there.
We're there.
How much is that on it?
That line is literally the whole of that.
Oh, you got up to the line?
Yeah.
Oh no way, we went all the way. Look at that. They're chuffed for that. Hold on a second. So obviously we're using a bit and brace to bore the hole to put the dowel in the joints. Now one of the big issues we had last time was the actual bit, using the right bit. We only had one bit on us. I think I showed it in the previous video. It was a flat bit and it wasn't that great. So a friend of ours came to the rescue on that day, brought a box full of these bits for us to try out. We had to work through quite a few of them to find out which one was working best for us. And this was the one that ended up working like an absolute charm. This is a 19mm bit, and it's actually called a 4 flute, number 4 flute, F-L-U-T-E. I found that out afterwards. So I took a picture of this and I've done a search online afterwards and found out that's the name of this actual type of auger bit. So this was the one, part of our learning, we found was absolutely fantastic at boring a fantastic hole for the dowels. So there you go, man, all part of the learning process. So with the dowels, we found out last time it takes a lot of time to make these, and a lot of the comments I was getting from people, especially professional woodworkers and green woodworkers, is that ideally you want to be using a shave horse with a draw knife to make the dowels. It's a lot easier, it's a lot easier to get a consistent cut and a consistent shape. But it's kind of the chicken and egg scenario, because I actually want to make a shave horse for this Basecamp, a folding one. the question is, what do you make first? Did you make the shave balls first, the shelter, etc.? So I just decided from the beginning I'm going to focus 100% on the shelter. So a shave balls would make things 10 times easier when it comes to making the dowels, making a consistent shape that's good enough to use on these joints. So it's all part of the learning curve. So those of you who commented using the shave balls, you're totally right, that's what we should be using. But once again, what do you kind of make first? But it is on my priority list that once the main shelter is up and we have the fire pit and the raised bed, that one of those things is a shave horse as well as a chopping block. And one thing another friend of mine told me, she's a professional green woodworker, is you actually get these, I'm not sure what they're called, but basically it's like a bit to make dowels. So for example, you imagine a stump of wood, okay? So like this, remember it's standing up. It's like a bit that you put on top and you punch through, and it actually punches a dowel through. So it's akin to a leatherworking tool. Once again, I don't know the name of it, hole punch, where you use, when you put it on your stamp of leather, you smack it and it marks a hole in the leather for belts or whatever. So it's similar to that to actually make dowels, and I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know the name of that bit, but I was told that you do use it as a traditional way of making dowels. So there you go. At the moment we're making it quite crude, the dowels, using the best wood we can find, and it's really tough finding the appropriate wood to make the dowels, because you want something that's seasoned, and you don't want to be using green wood because it will shrink. So you want something that's already seasoned and dry, and to find something suitable is really, really tough, because a lot of the wood we're finding is either punky when you start shaping it up, etc. But there you go. Anyway, a quicker way of doing it is with a shave horse. So for now we're really just keeping it crude and simple, using an axe and a knife. So in the previous video, on the last time we were here, we were working with the hammers and chisels. Got a couple of comments about the type of hammer we're using on the chisels, and that how really we should be using wooden mallets. And essentially you're right, we should be using wooden mallets. However, these are cheap chisels, and really this is what we had to hand that made it work. Last time I was using my axe head. Obviously this time I bought 2 hammers. Apologies about the aeroplane above. And so essentially you are right, you should be using wooden mallets when you're using chisels, but that's really when you're using wooden handled chisels, and more importantly when you're using more expensive, good quality chisels. Honestly, these are just cheap off the shelf ones, it makes no difference whatsoever. So essentially you are right, you should be using wooden mallets, but I think we can get away with just using hammers on the cheaper ones. What do you think?
Well, mine's got a metal end, so I don't think I'm going to get too much problem with that. Using a metal hammer, but you're absolutely right, proper woodworking tools, that is good practice, but hey ho, when you've got rusty old things sat in the back of the shed that haven't been used for ages, who cares?
That's it. He's talking about me, by the way. I'm not that old. So my friends, we are done with the sides. Well, almost. So we've done the 2 supporting pieces here. And so we put all the dowels in, we've got the joints nice and tight. So these are the 2. So essentially this is the left hand side and this is the right hand side of the shelter. So obviously this will stand up here, and along the back, we'll have actually those bits just in the foreground. And obviously this took a bit of time, so obviously a lot of lessons learned with this. The dowels still took quite a bit of time, but we got there in the end, we persevered. And like I mentioned, we're working with natural wood, so it has a lot of quirks and bends and all sorts of stuff that we had to contend with. But we finally got it done. Now it's about lunchtime now, so we've got some dinner on the go that Mark's done, so we've kept it quite simple for today. And what we're going to do is, once we get that down our gullet, we're then going to do the top bits of the sides. And once that's done, we're rocking. So just before we have lunch, we're gonna just quickly working out the joints that we're doing. So this is the top bit, so sloping down, and obviously this is the overhang at the back. So we're gonna have
there. Sort of 6-inch overhang at the back and about 2 foot of overhang at the front.
So the front we want quite a bit of an overhang because down below there's going to be a fire. So you can imagine that going up and then the smoke can go out. So we want quite a bit of an overhang. And at the back we think 6 inches is enough. That's what she said. Yeah. Right, so with this one we're doing, what was it? What was the...
I can't remember what it's called. It's either called a bird's beak or a duck's beak. And that's what they use when they build houses, when they put the roofing joists on. So you're literally cutting a wedge out so that this part here will be totally horizontal with sea level, so that actually sits on the top of there. And then obviously what we'll do, we'll drill and peg through the top.
So essentially this beam is sitting on the top.
That will sit. Yeah, that will sit on the top like that.
And it will wedge right in because of that.
Yeah.
That groove that we cut in.
Yeah. Well, that's the theory.
That's the theory. We'll give it a try. Mr. Hollier,
Mr. Shah,
the man who always spoils me with delectable food. What have you got on the menu today?
Right, so today nothing too adventurous, but we've got a tuna and pasta bake that's literally pre-cooked at home. Put them in a bain-marie and we've just cooked them over the fire. That's a little bit warm, so take care. And there you go, simplicity itself. No, there you go, sir.
There's a, shall we nudge tuna bake cups?
Yeah, I think we should have a tuna and bake nudge.
That's it, tuna nudge.
So snidey taste of mine.
That's it. Look at that, man. Getting in there before me. So usually we salute with a cup of tea. We salute it with a cup of tuna bake, right? But for those of you who can't get out, take care.
We salute you.
We salute you.
Thanks for stopping by to watch a couple of amateurs.
That's it. Trying to make it look like we know what we're doing. This is really nice, by the way.
No, it's really nice, isn't it? That was yet again care of Mrs. Hollier.
Look at that. He's Mrs.
Cheers, Sharon.
Cheers, Sharon. Thank you.
So we're cruising ahead today.
Doing a lot better today. It's amazing
Yep.
the difference it makes when you know what tools to use for the job, what joints you're going to do. Basically, just know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've still run into a couple of issues here and there, but compared to kind of the previous day, man, we're racing ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Not 100% sure we're going to be finished by the end of the day, but I'll tell you what, we're going to have a structure. We're going to have something up. We're going to get it up.
That's what she said.
It's always a pleasure coming in the woods and helping you get an erection, isn't
It is. It is. And sharing it on camera.
And sharing it on camera. But yeah, much needed sustenance. And another beautiful day.
It is. Been very blessed this time. A lot less wind. I'm not talking about from my gut. There's been plenty of that too. But a lot less wind. Sometimes previous 2 occasions have been, it's like really strong winds.
Blustery.
Quite blustery, but today, no, thankfully, beautiful day.
We're actually where we are. We're actually quite high up above sea level. As you drive up to where we are, there's a 1 in 10 gradient hill, literally about half a mile away. So that really takes you up in amongst the winds and stuff. But no, today it seems to be actually blowing over as the tops of the trees are blowing, but it's not blowing through camp.
So in terms of knife at the moment, I'm currently testing out the Virtus knife by a knife maker called Sam, based out in Canada. This is absolutely beautiful. So this is denim scales with micarta pins, beautiful pins, mosaic pins, sorry. And a beautiful finish. I love the old kind of finish on the knife itself, on the blade itself. It's a fantastic knife. It feels great in the hand. And it comes in a Kydex sheath. It's actually the first knife I've been using that comes in a Kydex sheath, and it fits absolutely beautiful. But I'm going to put a link to Sam's site below. They very kindly gave this to me to test out, strictly just to test out. But I've been so impressed with it that I don't mind showing it off on video. So you'll be seeing this a lot more in future videos, but an absolutely beautiful knife by Veritas Knives based out in Canada. So, we've been busy at work in between the last scene and this scene for quite a few hours, and I'll tell you what we've done. I'm going to show you in a second, but just give you an illustration. The two sides, we've done them both completely. This bit, which I'll talk you through in a minute, was a real pain to get the angles right, but I'll show you what we did. But just to illustrate to you, we've done the two sides. Now what we've done, the front beam here and the back beam, we've prepared the two beams themselves with the joints and holes and everything, and we prepped up the side here as well. So the goal now, and obviously I'll explain it when I actually show you the frame just over here, is we're gonna aim to stand the two sides up and attach the two top cross beams. That's what we want to do. But let me show you the actual structure first, but this obviously picture gives you the clear illustration of what we've done. So here we go. Here is the left hand side if you're facing the shelter, and obviously this side here is going to be 7 foot high, and that's going to be 6 foot high. Now obviously these joints, you know what we've done. Now the top beams, we have to do a lot of testing with this one, but essentially we've done a similar sort of joint, and then obviously we put the dowel in. Same thing here. You can't see it clearly in this one, but we have actually grooved into the top beam so it sits flush on top. And then we've done the same here. This was the second one we've done, so it was a lot better. So as you can see there, it's obviously grooved into the top beam, so it's sitting right on top. Okay, so in that way all the pressure is going down. And same on this side. This side was very tricky. Now obviously
out of it, but what we'll do, we'll give that a smack once it's upright.
Yeah.
And that'll go back in.
The big problem we found was two things. Number one, a lot of knots in these beams, a lot of knots, and also there's a lot of kinks and bends in this wood, especially the beams. And so really to hold the pieces, to get the right angle, to hand drill it and hold it all was a nightmare, you know. So it was really tough. So we're going to be the first to admit there's a lot of lessons learned on this one. Marky Mark, a lot of lessons learned, huh?
A lot of lessons learned, Zed.
That's it. He lost his edge during the whole process. Yeah, like me before we started making this. That was it.
It's good fun, tiring but good fun.
Yeah.
I'd recommend it. Anyone have a go at it. What's the worst can happen?
That's
it goes two ways. Either it'll work or it won't.
You lose your hair. That's it.
Yeah.
You just that's the worst. So what we're doing now, we're just measuring up. So this is going to be the left hand side. So we put this here, and we put the back one there. So it's going to go a foot into the ground, and we've done it so it's kind of level with this beech tree, but a little bit off. But it's actually got to be facing properly out this way. Okay, so that's what we're doing. So we're going to dig one side first, put the left hand side in, and then fill the holes up. Hopefully it will stand upright. So we made a measuring stick rather than having to get a tape measure out. So this is a foot across, and that's how much it's going to be. So I've just kind of taken the bark off here. So basically that's the guide, so we can just put that in the ground. As long as we know it's going up until there, the hole, then that should be just about perfect. So here we go, moment of truth. Let's have a look. Oh, do you know what, mate? You've actually done well with that. Check you out, Mark. Seriously, that's pretty good.
I'll show you how I knew.
How do you know? As a measuring stick.
My spade is a foot long.
Such a cheese, this guy, you know that? I thought, that's really good.
I wasn't going to tell you, I was going to say, well, I could tell.
You're really impressive. There I am carving his fancy stick. You know, a quick thing about shovels, right? You told me before, and we can get it on camera.
Yeah.
That shovels are supposed to have a long handle, aren't they?
Yeah, it's actually a spade rather than a shovel.
Spade, apologies about the bright sunlight, by the way, guys.
But yeah, I mean, I've been using sort of like digging spades with short handles and a little D thing in them forever and a day, and always thought it was hard work. And then I got an allotment, and thankfully we got some old Irish guys over there, and one of them watched me dig, and he said to me, "You don't do a lot of this, do you?" I said, "No, look at me lovely soft electronics hands." He went, do you want me to give you a few tips? I said, yeah, all right then. He said, give us that spade. So I handed it to him and he just threw it down, went to his shed and went, get something with a long handle, it's so much easier. Why is it only the stupid English that use these little teaspoons to dig with? So, yeah, that was the best tip I was ever given. Get something with a long handle. You just get in there, give it a wiggle, got loads of leverage, none of this bending down business. Stood upright. Let the spade do the work. Get your dross out. Just keep working yourself around the hole until the spade head is submerged, and then you know you're a foot down in this case.
Friends, the moment of truth. Now I'm going to have to position this camera in the best angle that I think possible, because I can't run back and change the angles once we pick this up and put it in the hole. That's what she said. Right, so are you ready, Mark? This is the moment of truth, mister.
I am ready, Right, so
shall we lift up from the main?
I would say lift up from the main beams, but just always remember, bend at the knees, not the back. So
okay, we do
down into squat position.
Right, 1 second.
And then 1, 2, 3.
Oh mate, that is heavy. Gosh almighty. Have a look at Mark.
I'm burying it.
Kick it in. That's it, man. This is the best opportunity to bury a dead body as well, actually.
Yeah.
Mate, this is what you call elegant filling up a hole, just kicking it with your feet. So what we do, we're just compacting around. Sorry, I can't change the camera angle. What do we do with this?
We'll call this is heeling it in. So literally using your body weight.
Oh, so use the heel.
Yeah.
That's a very important thing, to compact. Right. Still got to hold on a second. We're gonna do the stand-up test, guys. Not if we can stand up.
Oh, I reckon we've got a solid erection there.
That's it. So Mark, shall we do it on the count of 3 then?
1,
2,
3.
Check that out, mate.
That's all right for one side.
That's it. We can teach you Canadians log building about doing log building a thing or two.
How not to do it.
How not to do it, mate. It might not seem like much, right, on video. This is a proud moment. This.
Well, a lot of back-breaking hard work's gone into this. So there are times where you get tired and you go, should we come back and do it another day? But you're so close, you just go, no. Let's get up the mainframe. So we've got to measure up for the other side.
I'm dead happy with that. Seriously.
I'm happy
And you know what the good thing is? I mean, you're about 4'2", so but look, 6 foot clearing at the back. How tall are you?
I'm just under 6 foot. I'm about 5'11" and a half nowadays.
Okay, so if you're talking to a girl, you're 6'1".
Yeah.
And in real life, you're about 5'8".
That's it. Yeah.
So, but look at that. In all good, and I'm about 5'9", 5'10". Look at that. There's loads of clearing. Look at that. I could do. I could have a chin-up bar in it. Have some rocky music. That's it. The training gym. But guys, seriously, I'm really, man, I'm really chuffed at that. And it stands up as well. I didn't think it would stand up, like on its own without the supports. So here we go. We just patted it in, and look at that, guys, standing up. So we've got quite a big overhang on purpose. We've got just a small overhang at the back. It's enough, but when I put the roof in and cedar bark, that's going to hang over even more. Mark, we need to do a wobble test.
Wobble test?
That's it, wobble test coming up.
Do you want me to hit it with my fat body?
That's it. Do you know what? That's all right, you know.
Yeah, that's all right. Considering that's just one side, 2 supports in the ground. But our joints, they're all solid.
And if you're wondering why I got this man-made cordage, it's because I actually brought it as one of the extra tools. I thought we may need to support it against the wall to stop it falling over. But you know what, we don't even need it. But looking good, man. I'm well impressed. Guys, apologies about the lighting. The sun's setting very, very fast. So dug out the holes, now we're going to get the next one in.
Right.
We're all good?
I've 3, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, gosh. Oh, sorry. How are we looking?
Straight up.
It's very clay-like, isn't it?
Yes, it's weird soil. Some places very peaty, some places very clay. There's a lot of flint in there as well.
So friends, I do apologise about the bad light. Literally it's on the verge of becoming dark within the next 10-15 minutes. So we've had no choice but to call it a wrap. Now the main thing is, we've got the 2 sides up. And what we've done just for the moment, literally because we're losing daylight, is we've just put a cross beam on just to hold the 2 together. We just lashed it using kind of nylon rope. But basically the idea is that it should actually technically be fine with the 2 sides, but with that just kind of braces it all together, yeah, and stops the wobble.
Yeah.
There you goes, that is a wrap for this video. The only reason why we've had to stop is literally the light is dropping fast. Like we've had to come to the edge of the woodland to get even the remotest bit of daylight, but literally within the next 10-15 minutes it's going to be pitch black in here. Yeah. But in the woodland it's actually already black, pitch black. We can just about see anything, and we've still got to pack away. So here's the deal now. This is the day 2 now of the frame of the shelter. Now part of you probably thinking, get on with it, right? Just build a frame, what you're wasting time for. Trust me, we've been here since I think 8 this morning.
8 this morning.
8 this morning, and it's almost like 8 this evening.
So it's a 12-hour stint.
12-hour stint, and we've literally the lunch and breakfast was streamlined. I mean, we've done it super fast,
yeah,
and we have been on the go. I'll be honest with you, it's been a very, very challenging day. Tiring, exhausting, frustrating. Once again, it's very humbling, working with the joints and with the natural shape of the wood and all the challenges it brings. But you know what? We got there. This is like the real challenging part that we've now tackled. And now we can finally say one more day.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, right? One more day. I want to be saying it in the year 2040 now. One more day, guys, one more day. But at the end of the day, we've just got to go with the flow, and we have been at it full on. So here's where we're at with day 2. The 2 sides are done. They're standing up now. They're buried in the ground. We've just put a temporary cross beam on just for the moment. On the next visit down, it's about attaching the rest of the cross beams on and finalizing the frame of the structure. Thereafter, it's working on the sides and doing the roof. As I mentioned earlier on, we're introducing a lot of techniques from woodworking, from green woodworking, from log cabin building, joinery, everything. So hence why it's taking time. We're not just doing your standard lean-to, which we're not disrespecting because we built plenty ourselves.
Yeah.
And we continue to. You learn a lot from doing that. But obviously, we want to go way outside our comfort zone here, which we've most definitely done. We've built this up now. So anyway, that's where we're at on day 2. We've got the frame of the shelter up on. Now it's a case of just finishing it off, and then, like I said, we build the walls and the roof. Anything you want to add?
Only that I'm not going to be able to come down with you. So if you want to see me again, hashtag bring back Mark.
That's it.
It's a new campaign.
He's been put on for life now, right? Being here today, I had to like whip him to get to work. But no, I'm very, very grateful for Mark.
No, it's my pleasure. I mean, it is hard work. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we're both aching. We're struggling to get off the floor, but what a feeling when we actually got something up and saw the proportions of the thing. You see it on paper and everything. There's just a feeling of satisfaction. So thank you for inviting me.
Seriously, I've said it many times before, and I really do mean it. Not only is he a close friend of mine, but I literally could not have done this without him. There's just no way. And so I'll be honest with you, it's been a very challenging day, but at the end of it, we're quite chuffed.
Yeah,
we're very chuffed.
Yeah.
Really happy with the proportions, like Mark said. We've stood around, we've moved around, and you can tell this is going to be, fingers crossed, a very, very solid structure. By the time it's done. Obviously, there's still some work to do. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. like I said, you know, we're just in the process of finishing off the frame. Hopefully, fingers crossed on the next visit, but obviously we'll go with the flow. Once again, if you have any comments and suggestions, please let us know down below. There are loads of you that are way more experienced. Even we know a lot of things we could have done better, the way we could have improved, especially the joints. Joints is something that, you know, it was a very, very big learning curve for us today. We still haven't fully cracked it. Especially when you're working with natural shaped wood. If you're working with processed wood from your local DIY store, it's totally different. You know the proportions that you're working with. But here, there were just bends and knacks and crooks and God knows what.
And it is a hardwood as well, so it's difficult to work with, especially when you come across knots.
Yeah, a lot of knots, man.
I'm
In
gonna
those
have
beans.
nightmares about knots tonight.
Gosh, those were a nightmare to kind of deal with. But anyway, like I said, a lot of it didn't want to show in the video because I don't want to bore you guys with just showing every little facet of detail. So in this video, I try to just give you that overview. I know I talk a lot, explaining a lot of things. It's just the way my brain works. But like I've said from the very beginning, I'm doing this in a way that you guys can share your experience, your opinions and knowledge with us. But also, if some shape or form you can learn, you can take some hints. You can definitely learn how not to do things, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it, you know. But there you go. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I've taken some photos and videos I'll be posting up on my Instagram. Do a search for Z Outdoors. You'll find me on Instagram. I'm going to put a link to Mark's Instagram as well. Please do go and check him out and stuff. He's doing some really cool stuff in his allotment. He's a really good allotment guy. And so there you go, that's it. So please let me know your comments and suggestions below. Looking forward to really expanding on this frame now and getting it finished. And as always, I hope whatever you're doing, for Mark and myself, you have a blessed day, a blessed week ahead. Peace out.